First thing we did was prep the bird, thaw it out, take out the giblets and the neck, covered it with Baroli olive oil, not virgin, but the marinating stuff. I usually use Chef Paul's Poultry Magic. I'm out. All I have was Seafood Magic. The local Vermont grocery store up here does not have Chef Paul's. So I'm trying this chicken grilling seasoning, grinding it up with a bunch of other spices to put on the bird on top of the olive oil. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, I've got the bird covered with the chicken grilling seasoning you grind up, some lemon pepper, a little bit of orange peel, and some rosemary, and a touch of adobo. It's covered with olive oil. We're about to put it in the smoker. Okay, we got the bird all seasoned up. We got the Orion smoker with charcoal all around the top and the bottom, the convection smoker. Inside I put applewood chips. I put quite a bit, so it's going to be really smoky, that I soaked in water for half an hour. The mix in the pan below has apples and oranges. We've got some bird dog apple whiskey. I put some Schonauer or German apple liqueur and a little bit of Sailor Jerry rum. Seems a shame to waste the liquor, but it's going to give it a real good flavor. So in goes the bird, and it's going to go 7 minutes per pound roughly. It's a 12 point something pound bird, so we're going to cook it 90 minutes. We don't want the wings to touch the side. They'll get a little bit burned, but there's no way to really strap them in. I'm just going to leave it, and we'll see how it turns out. Actually, I had the shelf wrong. The bird goes on the bottom shelf for smoking. The wood chips are going to give it a lot of good applewood smoky flavor. You don't want to use hickory. It doesn't taste as good. You usually use match light, which I've used. It's easier to light, and it's quick. The top full, the sides full. I'm still going to use a little fluid to start it, even though it's match light. And once it starts cooking and smoking with all that convection heat, all that apple bird dog whiskey and apple liqueur, German apple liqueur, and rum and apples, I even put cut up an orange and put in there. It's going to give it a nice flavor with the seasoning in there. So we got the fluid on there. The other thing I tried putting on there to mix with the whiskey and the apple liqueur for flavor and the rum was a little bit of coconut water. I got at a discount store. I thought the coconut water would give it a good flavor. So let's light it up and see how she does. You are supposed to use match light with this stuff. Even though it's match light, like I said, I still like to use a little lighter fluid to get it going good and get it started. So that way it just gets going faster. Once these get going, the convection of this wonderful smoker, the convection heat just starts circulating around the bird. It's not directly in the heat. The heat surrounds it and cooks it quite nice. And it should be flavored really, really nice. So okay, with all that lighter fluid on there, starting fluid, it's flaring up pretty good. It'll go down to a nice hot ash in a minute. It'll start cooking. With turkeys, you definitely want to use applewood chips. I made the mistake that when I first got this a couple years ago of trying hickory, did not taste good, didn't go with it. I thought I was going to have to order applewood chips off of Amazon or somewhere. I found applewood chips at the local Sears store, which I was surprised. So you always want to put something in the pan for flavoring. If you're against alcohol, it just gives it a flavor and burns off. You can put a beer down there or something, even cider. I tried for the first time ever putting apple chunks and some oranges in there to see how it would go. So when this gets hot, it'll start cooking good. 7 minutes per pound. So my turkey was 12.63 pounds. 12 pounds would have been 84 minutes. I figure roughly 90 minutes once the time it gets going, and we're going to have a delicious turkey for Thanksgiving, our first Thanksgiving up in Vermont, me and my son. And it's beautiful out here, as you can see. You can't see the pond from here, but it's gorgeous out here. So okay, it's been cooking about 10 minutes now. The flames are starting to burn off. I put quite a bit of fluid on it. Those charcoals will get red hot soon, and you will see the convection heat start swirling in a circuit through it and cooking it. Like I said, I used quite a bit of apple chips this time, so it's going to be really smoky flavored. Didn't quite have the seasonings I wanted because I've just moved here. Usually I think it's called Bell seasoning. It comes in a little yellow box. It's good for seafoods and poultry. Usually I put that on and some of that Chef Paul Seafood Magic and lemon pepper. I had to use lemon pepper, rosemary, a touch of orange peel, a touch of adobo, and some chicken grilling seasoning that grinds up. I got the local Shaw's up here in Vermont, and We'll come back and check on it in a little while. We're going to time this 7 minutes per pound with the turkey. From the time after a few minutes after you light it and it starts up, we're going to see how it goes. Like I told you, the drip pan down below, you don't have to put something in it. I mean, it's good to put something for flavor, even if you're not a drinker. Like I said, I used apple, Bird Dog whiskey, some generic from a discount store called Big Lots coconut water to give it flavor. I put a bunch of apples in there, first time I've done that, and cut up one orange to give it a little bit of flavor. So we're 10 minutes into it, probably 80 minutes left, an hour and 20. The bird should come out right at about 4 o'clock. It's about 3:40 now. No, 5 o'clock, I'm sorry. It's 2:40 now, so the bird will come out right at 4 o'clock and should be perfectly done. One of the things I put in it was this German Schauenauer apple liqueur, along with the Bird Dog whiskey. I used a touch of rum as well. I've done one other turkey where I put in some a bottle of Bob Marley beer and some rum, and it came out delicious. The first one I tried came out awful. It was we used hickory chips. It just didn't taste right. You want to get the apple flavor in there, some kind of apple something with the apple wood chips to get a good flavor. Once again, I usually use Chef Paul Poultry Magic. I had to use this stuff. It's the chicken grilling seasoning, along with some other seasonings. Always lemon pepper, some kind of seasoning. I put a little bit of rosemary, some other stuff on there. It should be cooked to a nice golden brown when we're done. I've never made gravy with the neck or giblets, but you have to remove those from the turkey, of course, before you cook it. Important thing to note too is I lowered the rack down to the first rack down below. It's been about a year or two since I've smoked the turkey in there. I've forgotten how to do it really. But remove the neck and the giblets. You should be able to make some kind of good gravy. You're not going to get the drippings like cooking in an oven, but you can make a good gravy from what's left over if you know what you're doing. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes, maybe a little more, a little less. All those coals are red hot. The heat is starting to circulate from the top to the bottom all around that turkey. I'm not going to pull the top off till near the end. I'll let all the smoke out. Probably the wood chips that were wet are starting to smolder a little bit and give it a good flavor. Like I said, I put a lot of applewood chips in there, more than normal. I want a really good smoky turkey. All that seasoning is starting to evaporate and go up in there, the liqueur and the whiskey and stuff I put in there. I've also put a little bit of, not just Bird Dog apple, but a little bit of stuff of Canadian Hunter bourbon. It's going to give that turkey a nice flavor. So, it's just time to sit and wait. You just let this thing sit here. There's no muss, no fuss. 7 minutes per pound. You check it near the end and see where we're at. And just let the thing go. Enjoy cooking the rest of your meal. I'm making a little bit of gravy from the neck and giblets. I've never really made gravy that way. I've always made it from drippings. But we're going to try it. Put it in a cast iron skillet. Take the neck and the giblets and boil them down with a little bit of flour and put cornstarch in it. With a little thing of chicken stock. And a little thing of liquid gravy mix. And this bird is just going to sit here and smolder in all that good flavor. Like I said, we're not going to lift the lid till near the end, but you can see that smoke coming out of there. All those applewood chips that I soaked in water for 30 or 40 minutes are starting to smolder and give it a good applewood flavor along with that stuff. These cookers are actually really nice. You know how to do it. I've done 3 or 4 turkeys total. I did a beef brisket, which came out a little bit dry. I've done ribs, which are amazing. I don't even think these things are in production anymore. They stopped making them. But they're wonderful smokers. I got mine on eBay from some hardware store. They're stainless steel. They'll last probably for almost forever. There's lots of stuff online about how to cook with them and how to do it. You might be able to find one at a closeout still, but I think Orion stopped making the things. It's too bad. I've got mine, so it doesn't really matter. But we're just going to let this thing cook and smoke and smolder and check back later. Another note. Don't even lift the top until 7 minutes per pound has gone by. You see that smoke escaping there? All that applewood chips are smoking, all that heat circulating, and all that liqueur and bourbon and applewood bourbon smoking up with a good smoky flavor. There's no need to check the oven like opening a cake when it's cooking. Just let this thing sit. There's handles on top of this. If you've got one, you know that. You can easily lift it up even with the charcoal burning without burning your hands, but let this thing just sit and smolder and be patient. Have a sip of the applewood whiskey if you have some that you poured in there when you're smoking this thing, or whatever you poured in there for flavoring. So So we took the neck and the giblets out of the turkey. We're going to attempt to boil them to make gravy. We're going to add some Swanson chicken broth, which I got from a discount store, some gravy mix, and some flour, maybe some butter, and at the end some cornstarch. I've never made gravy this way. I've always used drippings. We don't have drippings from the actual turkey. They're all going down in the pan below, which I wouldn't use to make gravy. But you could take the neck and the giblets and make kind of a good gravy out of it. This is kind of an experiment. I've never done this before this way, but we're going to try it and see how it comes out. So. Yeah, buddy. Okay, we've got the neck and the giblets boiling. We're going to add a little chicken broth at the end, some gravy mix. Once again, I've never made gravy. We're going to try this and see how it goes. We're going to reduce it, simmer it down. My mother's 20-year-old, 30-year-old wooden spoon to stir this stuff. Put in the chicken broth. We're just going to boil this down, add a little bit of flour at the end, some cornstarch, maybe a chunk of butter. I don't really need any seasoning. We'll let this boil down and make the gravy. Okay, the turkey is smoking. We've had these neck and giblets boiling down for about a half an hour. Put in some butter. We're going to add a little generic gravy mix, some flour, some seasoning, and salt and pepper. The asparagus is in a steamer here, cheap steamer, and we're waiting for the water to boil and melt the butter on the asparagus. We've got some instant hollandaise sauce we're going to make. I'm going to make some really good instant mashed potatoes. They're actually very good. I hate the word instant, but the turkey is smoky. We're going to check on it in a minute. It's not that long before we have a meal, and we'll check back in a little while. Okay, this thing has been smoking for almost an hour and a half. I started timing from the moment I lit the charcoal briquettes. They're all burned down. The heat is still circulating good. They're a nice hot charcoal. I'm probably going to wait about 10 more minutes before I even pull the top off. You can see it's just sitting there smoldering, all that apple wood and the seasoning. We'll take a look around here. It's a nice place I moved to. It's on 10 acres. The landlord owns a house over there. He's hardly ever here, 4 times a year. There's a trail right there that leads to a beautiful, beautiful 17-acre private pond. It's surrounded. All wooded, all woods. There's the old homestead there, the little carriage house. We're sitting out here, just smoking the turkey, waiting for it to finish. Like I said, I'm gonna pull the lid off in about 10 minutes to check it out to see if it's a nice golden brown and smoked. The charcoals have all burned down. They're still red hot, like charcoal gets when it burns down, and you can see that smoke just coming out of there. And like I said, another 10 minutes or so, we'll check it out. We got the asparagus steaming in the steamer, the turkey neck and giblets boiling down with some chicken stock. I'm going to add some gravy mix and flour in a minute for gravy, and I'm going to make some, God forbid, instant mashed potatoes that actually are a pretty good brand. So that's where we stand right now. Like I said, it's been right about 90 minutes. My spirit tells me not to open the lid yet. Let it sit another 10 or 15. And when we open it up, we should have a perfectly golden brown, beautifully smoked turkey to sit down and eat for Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, we've actually let the turkey go an additional 15 minutes. We're going to lift it up some with both hands. Lift it up with both hands, set it aside. We're going to see what this baby bird looks like. And you got your swimming trunks on in 50-degree weather in Vermont. Pull it out. Oh, look at that baby. It's a little bit well done. It's going to be perfect. We're going to set the pan down there. All that flavor and seasoning. Set it down. Set it down. We're going to get the hook to come with the Orion smoker. We're going to hook it on there. We're going to pull out this little bit well done, but it's not going to be raw. Beautifully seasoned, flavored bird. Now set it in the pan. I don't want that to fall over. I'll cry. Now look at that bird. Look at that. All that whiskey, apples, oranges, rum, all that flavor just cooked up in there with those apple chips. It's done. For now, we're going to put the lid back on it just to let it just sit here and simmer. I guess we could leave it off, but put it on at an angle. And that bird is actually perfect. Look at that. Maybe you've done 5 minutes too much. Look at the brown, how brown. Look at the skin, the seasoning, all that flavor. We're going to carry it inside, finish our gravy and our mashed potatoes. But look at that thing. This is just beautiful. Maybe a little bit done. I went 15 minutes too much because I felt like I timed it from the minute I lit the charcoal My spirit told me to go a little bit longer, but that's a beautiful bird. All that flavor and seasoning just cooked in there. Just look at that thing. It's a work of art. Okay. Now just look at that smoked bird. My son thinks it went a little too long. We'll find out soon enough. Maybe I could have taken it out 5 or 10 minutes earlier, but look at that beautiful. I could just see the smell is just enough. It's just beautiful.
Dick.
We're gonna finish the rest of the stuff. We're making instant mashed potatoes, which I know a lot of you will cringe at, but these Idahoan, I'm mixing a buttery home style country select, just a couple minutes or 4 minutes with a cup of water, 2 cups of water. They came out delicious. We're gonna make those for our mashed potatoes. The gravy, I added the gravy. It's still simmering with the butter and this turkey neck and the giblet. We're gonna add a little bit of flour and at the end cornstarch. The asparagus is simmering here, still steaming in its own juices with butter. So it's gonna be a nice little meal. Thank you. Now the neck and giblets and such have been boiling down with the water I put in. I added a pack of gravy mix. We're going to add some Stafford flour through a sifter to it. At the end we're going to put in some cornstarch, just like I did at the dollar store for I think it was $1. We're going to sift some flour in here to thicken it up. The asparagus is steaming. The bird just smells heavenly. We want gravy to put on the mashed potatoes. Nice simple meal up here in Vermont with my son. The gravy is boiling away. Some of the flour thickened it up a little bit. Some of it's a little bit chunky as I dumped the sifter upside down. I shouldn't have done to get the rest of the flour. The asparagus is perfectly steamed. I'm going to move this over because only a few burners work on this cheap stove. We're going to start making the hollandaise sauce from this burner here. The sauce I'm using came from the store. It's called hollandaise sauce mix. Don't know the brand. I've used it before. It's actually pretty good. You true chefs will cringe, but for a guy on a budget trying to make a simple meal for his son, it's going to be yummy over the asparagus. Simply put it in a pan with a cup of water, mix it up. It's going to be a nice creamy buttery sauce. You got to stir it constantly. It's going to taste good on top of the asparagus with the mashed potatoes and gravy I'm making to go with the birds. So, okay, the mashed potatoes are done. Usually it's 4 minutes per package. I did it about 8 minutes and 30. It's 4 to 5 minutes in microwave. They do always come out good as long as you measure the water good. They're good, cheap, instant mashed potatoes. I usually throw in a bunch of chunks of butter. And my cardiologist wouldn't like it. Stir it up, mix them up real good. The hollandaise sauce is cooking. It needs to be stirred constantly. But my son, as usual, doesn't help very much. He's upstairs playing guitar. He's acoustic guitar plugged into a Marshall amp. While I'm downstairs listening to Levon Helm, God rest his soul, the band, sing Tennessee Jed. Thank you, Jerry. Alright, meal is on its way. We're almost ready to eat. We're going to see how it comes out. The gravy is still reducing down with the flour and gravy mix. I'm trying to do everything myself here. It's not easy. The asparagus is done, as you can see, nicely steamed with butter, a little bit of salt. The hollandaise sauce, even though it's a package, a mix, it comes out very good. It's got to be stirred constantly, which I'm trying to do in between. We have a nice little meal here. Asparagus, mashed potatoes, even though they're instant, a little bit of gravy, and a beautifully flavored bird. So, okay, the hollandaise sauce has come to a boil. I've immediately removed it from the heat. It's supposed to be served immediately.